A few months ago, one of my friends was telling me about something that had happened to her that had completely ruined her day. And as any good friend would, I tried my best to help her calm down and find a solution. But problem solving wasn't what she needed. What she needed was someone who could simply listen to her and just empathize with her problem. This realization is what made this specific conversation resonate with me, because I realized that even though I was actively trying to empathize with her, my mind was actually losing focus on a lot of parts of her talk, and instead, my mind was slipping into my mental to-do list for the day. This specific instance made me aware that my ability to empathize with people, something that I had found easy to do in the past, was actually slowly diminishing. I decided to look more into this problem and find the cause. And in doing so, I found that this is actually becoming a very common problem in many people, with loads of people saying that they too find it increasingly difficult to empathize with others. In order to understand how empathy affects our society, we need to first understand what is empathy. If you go around and ask people what their definition of empathy is, you'll find that everyone has a slightly different meaning. Some people view empathy as just a feeling, while others see it as the ability to connect with others. Some think that it's being able to put yourself in another person's shoes, while another person might say that it's just being able to feel concerned about someone. Regardless, most people would agree that empathy has to do with the understanding of other people's emotions and being able to be concerned about them. And this trait is exactly what so many people in society today are lacking. Now, that's not to say that everyone has suddenly become a narcissist, but it's clear that there's a struggle in people today to genuinely understand each other's emotions. Sarah Conrath, a social psychologist at Indiana University, along with colleagues, observed the standardized psychological tests of U.S. undergrads from 1979 to 2009. What they found was a significant decrease in empathic traits and an increase in self-centered traits such as narcissism and individualism. But the question arises, what caused this sudden decline in empathy? Well, it's important to note that this isn't actually a recent phenomenon and actually has to do a lot with our country's history. Looking at the 1950s, we'll see a dramatic increase in both consumerism and capitalism in America. And while that greatly benefited our nation's economy, it actually played a key factor in the shift from a societal focus on collective success to individual success. People began to prioritize the individual pursuit of wealth over making sure that they managed their wealth in a way that would benefit their children and future generations so that they had the means necessary to live a successful life. Because future generations had less resources available to them, they were forced to step up and focus more on their careers and their work. These circumstances are eventually what led to the emergence of a new philosophy, hustle culture. Now, I'm sure that any one of you who's online has seen the millions of people who talk about their side hustles. You'll often find people talking about how much money they've made off of them, how much they benefit their lives, and how you too can also start this. And I have to say that I also find myself falling into this mindset as I think about all of the other extracurriculars or other activities and other things I could be doing despite my already very hectic schedule. But the thing is that when we think in this mindset, then your spare time doesn't really become your spare time. Your spare time ends up not really being your spare time. Instead, you're expected to always answer to texts and emails, go to social events, or participate in another job, and that can become extremely overwhelming. This leads to a lack of motivation, energy, productivity, and instead creates more burnout and levels of stress. And when we're stressed out, and when we feel more stressed out, then it actually creates a cycle which perpetuates constantly overworking our minds past its limits. And this can be detrimental to our mental health. This cycle is precisely why empathy is so deficient in our society today. Young people feel the effects of hustle culture more as students feel the immense pressure to get into the best colleges, get the best grades, and do as many extracurriculars as possible. But when we're feeling stressed out, all of our focus ends up being on ourselves and our own lives. Since we're so occupied with our own emotions, it gives us a little leeway to actually consider how other people are feeling as well. When we feel overwhelmed, our minds will often unconsciously close itself off to external emotions as a coping mechanism to deal with stressors. And many people don't realize that our minds actually do this, which leads to many wondering why they suddenly struggle to connect with other people. Even though people deal with burnout differently, it's clear that both hustle culture and the tendency to overwork ourselves has made it much harder for us to empathize with others and understand each other's emotions. So, what can we do about this? How can we allow ourselves to step away from this toxic mindset, which only leaves us feeling more stress and diminishes our ability to be empathetic towards others? It's not an easy thing to do, I know. After spending so much time obsessing over yourself and every little other thing you could be doing differently, it can be a challenge to allow yourself to not constantly hyperanalyze every part of your life. But I challenge you all today to just take some time, or even a few hours, to simply do the things that you truly love to do and enjoy doing, and spend time with your friends and family. This might seem like a difficult thing to do with all of the things that we have on our plates, but as someone who is also trying to step away from this toxic mindset and instead embrace a more balanced lifestyle, I can guarantee you that implementing these little moments of happiness into your life can clear up your head tremendously and allow you to truly connect and bond with other people, effectively bridging the empathy gap. Thank you.